What is up YouTube? I am back for another vlog, yes. Apologies I didn't upload last week. I did say weekly or bi-weekly, and September is a crazy month for me. A lot of travelling, a lot of enrolments of new clients because school holidays are finished, and yeah, just my life right now is crazy. Like right now I am doing my washing, I cleaned the bathroom this morning. It is only 8:30 this morning, so I feel like I'm doing very well so far today, and I managed to fit in some vlogging time. So organising is a skill that I have. So 20 weeks pregnant. Yeah, 20 weeks pregnant. I've hit the halfway mark officially, which is really exciting but also petrifying. I mean, to be honest, I'm feeling quite calm. I'm feeling more ready to meet the baby as each week passes. So if you don't follow me on social media, you wouldn't have seen that I announced the gender of the baby a few weeks ago. We didn't do like the whole balloon thing, that wasn't kind of our style, but we are having a little boy. Now I could have found out this at the 20-week scan that we're having next week when I'll be 21 weeks, but I just was impatient, and you know, you have to wait. Well, it's 12 weeks, you have your dating scan and you have your 20-week scan, and there's quite a big gap in between, and because of past experiences I wanted to have like a scan in between where I could find out if the baby was all okay and everything was all fine, and also while I was at that scan I could also find out the gender. So, you know, curiosity took over and I was like, go on then, tell me what it is. And you know what, I had a feeling from the very beginning that it was going to be a little boy. I don't know why. Maybe most mums say this. You've got a 50-50 chance whether it's going to be right or wrong, so you know, it's not exactly like a big deal, but I just had this really weird instinct that I knew it was a boy, which is quite funny because my sister's also a couple weeks behind me in her own pregnancy journey, so on her second baby, and throughout the whole way up until her scan, when she found out the gender, she was like, it's a girl, it's going to be another girl, I just feel it. And then she found out she was having a boy, which is obviously exciting because now she has one of each. Our little fella will be growing up alongside his little cousin, who will literally be like 3 or 4 weeks behind him, which is so exciting and just was not planned in the slightest, but it's just fallen into place like that. So yeah, we have our 20-week scan next week. I'm not going to murder the explanation on what they do in a 20-week scan. For those who've you know, had babies, you've had a 20-week scan, they pretty much just check the whole baby's health, if it's developing correctly, all the organs, the brain, the bones. It's just incredible what they can do. So yeah, I think this next appointment is going to be quite an interesting one, and Joel is coming along with me as well, so we'll both be able to experience that together. In terms of how I'm feeling excited, I'm feeling nervous, I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling sometimes overwhelmed, but mainly I'm excited, and I'm ready for this next chapter in my life, and so is Joel. You know, we've started getting some things together, we've got our list of things that we need to like get and organise. We've started making our way through that list, and everything's just falling into place right now, and we've been doing a lot of second-hand like furniture shopping. So we've managed to pick up our first item, which was a baby changing unit with drawers, and it's like pretty much brand new off Facebook Marketplace. 70 quid, absolute bargain, because if we're going to buy a new one it would probably cost us triple that, because as soon as you put anything baby related to or a wedding, I feel like the price just goes up in everything. So we managed to get that off Facebook Marketplace, and I like the idea of recycling furniture because not only are you you know, able to save money yourself, but you're also able to give money to a family that need it, and obviously they don't need that piece of equipment anymore or that piece of furniture anymore. So yeah, I'm all for recycling. And your baby doesn't know how much money things cost. You know, all it cares about is being fed, being changed, and being winded and sleeping. That is literally all they care about at that time. They're not going to know how much things cost. I know that most people say that you should get new stuff for a newborn, but you know, I'm all for saving money, and at times like this you need to save every penny you've got. So yeah, I'm feeling, you know, in terms of my energy is a lot better than it was in my first trimester, obviously. You know, all of my symptoms I had in my first trimester, like the sickness and that constant hangover feeling that I had, is completely gone now. I feel like I'm in the, I think they call it the honeymoon phase of pregnancy. Like the second trimester is quite a nice one. First trimester is always like quite hard. It's very, very hard, especially when no one knows that you're pregnant. Like only very few people around me knew that I was pregnant. And then your third trimester, obviously you're huge and you're waiting for the baby to be evacuated from you, so you just kind of slow down then. And I imagine that my life will probably slow down a lot more when I get to that stage as well. So, you know, this month is really, really busy for me. Thankfully, I'm in my honeymoon phase of my pregnancy. So far my training has adapted very, very slightly, if I'm being completely honest with you. You know, obviously my first trimester I was very fatigued. I couldn't challenge myself as much as I'd like to. Like I knew I could push myself a little bit more within that limitations that I knew I had. Whereas my second trimester, I'm actually able to like challenge myself a little bit more, which is very, very nice. Of course, within reason, you know, having to, you know, almost as usual nugget, use your common sense with this. You know, you're pregnant, you're gonna make sure that you are not overexerting yourself, because obviously you don't want to reduce blood flow to the baby. So no like sort of HIIT style training. You want to be able to maintain a conversation almost when you're training. So, you know, not going to like complete failure. With my body pump classes, I've had to really descale my weight. I'm finding back squats very uncomfortable from like some ligament like pain around my lower back, and obviously my hips are going wider. So I've just switched it to doing front loaded with just a plate in my hand, and stopping and starting when I feel like I need to, and just coaching my my members through the movements. When it comes to, so for instance, if I was going to do a flat dumbbell press, I can no longer lie on my back because of the pressure restricting the blood flow to the baby. So everything's on an incline now. So when I'm in body pump, I set my bench up on an incline in the steps, and instead of using a barbell, I use two plates, just like you can hold onto the plates in body pump, the plates we got at the gym, and then it's easier to kind of get on and off the bench, especially when I'm transitioning from sort of like a press to a press up. Another thing that I'm having to avoid in training now is any sort of rectus abdominal work. So your rectus abdominals is like, you know, like your six-pack muscles. So any form of like crunching motion, because as your stomach grows bigger, your abdominals will stretch and obviously move apart slightly. And with any sort of crunch work, that can exaggerate that sort of widening of the abdominals. So you want to avoid any sort of crunch sit-up movement. And to be honest, it's not really my go-to movement anyway in my own training. So in my own training, I'm really focusing on my deeper core muscles and my pelvic floor muscles, because, you know, these are the muscles that are gonna take a huge beating when it comes to as I get bigger and through childbirth. Now obviously I'm not giving birth naturally because of my JPouch. Now some women can give birth naturally with a JPouch, but I'm following my medical team's advice and my surgeon's advice, and I'm going to go for an elective C-section, because, you know, the last thing I want to do is have problems post-surgery, like complications myself, whilst dealing with a newborn baby. You know, if I have a tear or if I have a prolapse to my pouch, it's just very, very risky, and I don't want to put myself through that extra stress. So even if you're not giving birth naturally, doing your pelvic floor muscle exercises, like your Kegels, just sort of sitting down and just almost pretending you're holding in a pee and a poo. The best analogy I could use there, but it's literally just like really sucking in, like pulling almost your pelvic floor muscles into your abdominal area, and with that you want to be working your deep core muscles as well, so your transverse abdominals. So that's your deepest layer of your core. It's like a corset around your sort of trunk area. So things like doing like dead bug work. Obviously you can't do that in your second trimester because you can't lie flat on your back, but when you come into an all fours position and doing like a Superman position where you come on all fours, having one arm out, one leg out at a time, and then pulling yourself back in, but slowing that movement down to make sure you're really engaging your core muscles. Sitting on a yoga ball I've also found very, very helpful. I just sit onto a yoga ball, feet flat on the floor, and I feel like I'm almost hugging the baby into myself. So I'm sucking my belly button to the back of my spine, I'm breathing throughout the movement, or I'm holding my breath to do some breath work as well. So it's not necessarily the exercises that give you that burn, and I think even if you're not pregnant, you should still be focused on these exercises because, you know, it's all well and good having a strong rectus abdominal, like six-pack area, like the visual six-pack that you see when people like diet and you can see it, but if you're not strong in the inside, then you're more sort of prone to things like hernias or back injuries. Just, you know, it has a ripple effect through the body. You know, you've got to think about it. It's your sort of center of your body, and it needs to be strong through even just day-to-day chores in your life, like picking up your grocery bag from the floor, because you'd more likely give yourself a hernia doing that than you would lifting weights, because you're not conditioned to have that core ability and activation and strength to lift something just so quickly off the floor. Learning how to engage your deep inner core muscles is very, very important. And if you had any sort of abdominal surgery, I know previously when I've had abdominal surgery, they didn't give me any sort of guidance for exercises to do post-surgery. But my latest one, when I had my takedown surgery, they gave me a little booklet on sort of the exercises I should be doing, like pelvic tilt, floor exercises, glute bridges. It's the ones that you don't think are going to do anything that are the most effective exercises you should have in your fitness routine. So in terms of the weights that I'm using right now in the gym, I'm actually lifting at a lot lower percentage than I normally would. I'm being very, very mindful of how I'm performing these exercises. I'm sometimes recording myself doing these exercises to ensure that I'm actually lifting it correctly, because women's bodies release something called relaxin throughout our pregnancy, and it kind of peaks in the first trimester and it probably carries you through to the third trimester for preparation for birth. It causes your ligaments and joints to be a lot more lax in your muscles. And I'm a lot more sort of flexible than I would normally be. So my range of movement, I'm finding in some exercises, for instance like a back squat, I'm getting almost like a little, like an extra butt wink at the bottom that is obviously causing me to have a little bit of back pain. So that's why I switched to front loaded, why I can control the movement. And obviously my center of gravity is changing as I go through my pregnancy, so you have to be very aware of this as well. In terms of exercise selection, I'm still doing my sort of basic movements I would do in my normal training program. I'm probably leaving out things like heavy hand cleans and stuff, because obviously it's a very quick, fast-paced movement. When it comes to any sort of like jumping, plyometric work, I'm stopping any sort of that. Any sort of quick lateral movements I'm also leaving out. I'm still doing lateral movements like lunges, for instance, but I'm being very mindful of the tempo that I use, so the time it takes me to get down into the sort of bottom range and then coming back up. So you've got to focus on slowing down the tempo when you're pregnant, because obviously you don't have the load there that you normally would when you were pre-pregnancy, and also the range of motion that you are going, because without realizing you can go a little bit deeper than you normally could before due to all the extra hormones within your body. So yes, that's currently where I'm at in training. That's been a big question that's been on my Instagram recently. A couple people kind of DM'd me just kind of saying, can you do like something on training and what your current training is? And I mean, it hasn't changed much at the moment, and obviously it will probably change again as I get into my third trimester. But things like doing my Kegels, my pelvic floor work basically, making sure I'm working my deep core muscles, they will be staple throughout the whole duration of my pregnancy, and especially when I come into my postnatal training. But I will touch a lot more on that as I go through my journey myself. And I will be sharing a lot more over on my Instagram page, Transform with Zoe, if you haven't followed that Instagram already. I do share some stuff on my sort of main page, but that is my sort of business, like training tips page, if that makes sense. So if you haven't followed it already, go over and follow it so you don't miss any of those sort of workout routines or educational videos. I do a lot of voiceovers as well, so kind of like what I'm doing here, but you can see me performing the exercise. So I hope you've taken something from this vlog, especially if you are you know, starting your pregnancy journey, or you are thinking about being pregnant in the future, or you're just very interested in sort of how training would change as someone who's pregnant. But until next time, I hope you will have an awesome day, and I will see you all very, very soon. And one thing before I go, if you have any questions on anything I've said in this vlog, pop them in the comments below, and if there's something else you want me to cover, then pop that also into the comment box below. So yeah, ciao for now.